The following organizations have provided funding for this Into the Outdoors television series.
40 acres of forest to be clear-cut? We need trees. Why can't people leave the forest alone? I'm not so sure about that, Anna. There's people up here who take good care of the forests. By cutting them down? Really, Haley? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to head into the outdoors.
Grab your gear and let's explore as we discover the wild outdoors. Science, discovery is what we do. You can make our earth a brighter and better place by joining us in this wide open space. Into the outdoors.
I'm glad your dad knew someone we could call to talk about this. Dad's good like that. He loves the outdoors.
Growing up in Vilas County, Dad often talked about his friends, John and Jane, who love the outdoors and know their forests. Perfect job requirements for a forester, that's for sure.
Hi, girls.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm John County, one of the
Anna.
forest administrators.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, I'm John. Good to meet you.
Hi.
We're gonna head right on up this trail and
So we're standing in the middle of this forest, and so how many acres of land are in Vilas County?
Vilas County Forest has 41,000 acres of forest land. We have 40 management units. They're about 1,000 acres each, and each unit is broken down into individual stands, and there's about 1,300 individual stands on the county forest.
What is a stand, and are we standing in one right now?
We are standing on one right now. A stand is basically the primary timber type or cover type on the landscape.
I know this is a big topic, but what is forest management and why is it important?
Forest management is important for lots of reasons. Many reasons that benefit us as a society, and also many reasons that benefit the ecological side of things for wildlife. And growing forests provide us with clean air. They give us clean water. They just keep everything healthy and keep us healthy.
I know I grew up in an urban area, and Haley has grown up here, and I know there's a lot of diversity. It seems like there's a lot of diversity here too. Tell me about that.
The goal here was aspen regeneration, and the aspen is coming up really well, but there are also different species like the oak that's here. They can come up together. So even though you are managing the stand primarily for aspen, you're always going to have other species like the oak and the white pine, the maple. There are some white birch components in this stand also, so the forest will be diverse, and often species can come up like oak and aspen can come up together and provide extra benefits for wildlife.
That's cool. That's a lot to know. Where do you start?
Well, we start from the ground up. We have a system here in Wisconsin that was developed by a man named John Kotar. It's called habitat typing. It's one of the tools we can use as professional foresters to determine the quality of the site and what the soil is capable of producing. So the plants that grow on the ground are indicators to us of what the potential for this stand is. And what the species here that we have to work with, combined with what the potential is how we make our decisions on where we want this stand to go and what would be best for it.
So what types of trees are on this stand, and how are you managing it?
So this particular stand is an aspen stand. It has some associated species with it. When we started this project, we harvested what was mainly aspen, about 40, 45 years old, and we clear cut. We left some of the white pine behind. We left, this dead tree. Why do you suppose we'd leave something like that behind?
Maybe for animals?
Very good. Yeah, we call that a snag tree, and we'd leave that behind for cavity nesters, so woodpeckers, squirrels, things like that. And then as that thing decays and falls over, it becomes what we call coarse woody debris, and then it serves another wildlife purpose for like salamanders and things like that would crawl underneath there. And then as it breaks down, it'll recycle its nutrients into the soil.
I know this is an oak leaf, but tell me more about this tree.
The young stands of oak are declining across our state. In order to regenerate oak, you have to do some pretty intensive management for the most part. Sometimes people don't like to see what the intensive management looks like. But the only way that you're going to get results like this is to do some harvesting. Some sites will require perhaps burning. Some sites will require additional scarification with machinery to get the proper seed bed for the acorns to land in and grow. So it takes some intensive management, and as professional foresters, we are concerned with the decline of this species because it's very important to wildlife.
So how do you manage all this land in such a long period of time?
We do look at this as a long-term commitment to the land, and it is a long process, and it starts, the pre-planting, the harvesting, and then once the stand is regenerated, then we kind of take a step back and let the stand grow, but we continually monitor it through its life cycle, which is be about 55 years for an aspen stand.
Forest management is very scientifically based. Everything that we do is based on science that we learn in school. There's silviculture, different tree species, what their needs are, how can we regenerate them, how can we keep our forests growing and vibrant. And that's all very scientific, and that's why we go to college to get our forestry degrees, so we can learn all that stuff.
Wow, I didn't know all of this.
And I think we're just getting started.
There must be more to the story, I'm sure.
Don't go away. There's more Into the Outdoors.
And now back into the outdoors.
Regeneration.
Sustainability,
There's so much to learn about forest management.
when we get into the outdoors.
The majority of Wisconsin's forest land is owned and cared for by 390,000 individuals and families. So it only made sense to introduce Anna to 4 generations of the Pfeiffer family and a cool DNR forester named Ben to learn about a forest legacy area in Wapaka.
When I first started coming here, there were cattle on the land, and you could stand in an area like this and see basically throughout the entire woods. And it took a fair number of years to get the undergrowth to come back.
One of the best parts of my job is working with a family like the Pfeiffers. And many families in Wapaka and throughout the state have the same stories, but it's just very gratifying to see them not only pass from one generation to the next, but implementing the programs and the prescriptions they see for their timber types, and they're seeing the benefits of it, through wildlife management and timber management. It goes hand in hand.
It's been interesting to listen to them when they're talking, and we want to remove this tree because it's got some defect, and we want to keep this tree because it's good seed stock for future.
Working with landowners, one of the things that I do is I prepare a stewardship plan with them, and eventually it might become a managed forest law program plan. And a lot of the things that we look at are, number one is probably landowner objectives. What they have the land for, what they like to use and do on the property.
We've constructed 2 different deer enclosures, or exclosures, so that to keep the deer out of the area. And one of the enclosures up on top, we planted white pine just don't exist, and inside of that exclosure we planted 50 pine trees a couple of years ago. I walked through there the other day, and there's pine trees, white pines in there now that are 5 feet tall. So the exclosures have been a big part of it.
When I was growing up, it was just a place to come and sled, and I saw my family, harvest deer and everything off of here. So now that I'm older, I'm 31 years old, so I definitely see the reasons behind it, and to be able to manage a forest like this, it makes a lot more sense to me now that, just to keep the forest healthy, harvesting firewood and all that too. I know a lot of us heat our houses. I guess probably all 3 generations do it. The 4th generation, I'm sure, will do it.
That's been a part of our dream, I guess you would say. It's more than just a place to go deer hunting. They enjoy the flowers, the ferns, the birds, those things.
To get kids involved in natural resources or even outdoors, I guess it takes a little bit of excitement on the educator's part to get them involved. So, maybe just talking with them and finding things in common that they have, just that one little step can go a long ways.
Anna's convinced we're doing the right thing.
Like cool machinery?
You're gonna love where we're headed to next.
Into the outdoors.
Don't go away. There's more Into the Outdoors.
There's tons more at intotheoutdoors.org.
And now back into the outdoors.
Who knew forest management could be good for the animals and the trees themselves? My dad suggested we meet two brothers who actually do the work themselves. He called them sustainable harvesting technicians. You up for it? Yeah.
Jason and Mark Nordine are very good at what they do. They're scientists and business people who have to stay on their game every second of it.
Your company's name is Nordine Land Management. So, what does land management mean to you?
Well, Haley, when we started our company, we wanted to decipher it between other ones, and we didn't want to be just a logging company, so we decided to go with land management behind our name. And we incorporated that because Mark and I are educated with 4-year bachelor degrees from Michigan Technological University. And that's a unique thing in our logging industry, so we know exactly what's going on out on the forest all the time because we know the science behind everything we do.
There are so many changes in this industry. How do you stay on top of it all?
In order to sell to all of our mills that we sell to, we have to be SFI certified, and that requires us to do so many hours of continuing education to be able to sell our products to the mill. Other mills require us to be FFC certified. People want to know that the wood is coming from a sustainable source, and we are providing that sustainable product to them.
This is more than harvesting and just moving wood. It's a real business.
Bet it is. We have to know different trucking laws, the harvesting regulations of the stands we're in, the insurances for all of our different stuff on the road and our equipment, our payroll. We have to do all sorts of stuff. It's kind of a labor of love.
Anna is learning about harvesting trees from your brother. So what does your machine do and how does it operate?
This is an 8-wheel drive forwarder. What I do is I drive it from the landing here, go out into the woods and see what he has cut down already for me to pick up. And there's different products, pulp and bolts and whatnot, and I pick up the products with the loader, put them on the bunk, drive them out to the landing here, and then I either put them on a trailer or on a pile on the side of the road, where that way the truck can come up and pick it up and transport it to the mill.
How do these trains end up on the truck? Mark?
The most common style of logging in the lake states is cut-to-length logging, which entails two pieces of machinery, a harvester and a forwarder. I run a harvester pretty much every day, and a harvester is basically a machine that's either on tracks or wheels. We have a track machine, and it goes with a harvesting head, and you go up to the tree, and you have a saw bar, and you cut it off, you tip the tree down, and you harvest it into the different products.
So what are you guys doing today?
Clear cutting is a forestry practice used to regenerate the forest through maximum sunlight in the forest floor by cutting all the trees in order for the sunlight to hit the forest floor so you can get a whole new flush of pioneer species.
What is forest succession?
Forest succession is over time the forest turning from an early pioneer species into more long-lived growth species. So at times we can speed that process up, or we keep with more of our pioneer species through the even age management practices.
So you're saying that you can build the forest from the floor up?
Yes, through the silvicultural practices that occur today, you can plan for forests to stay the same going into the future through harvesting. If you don't harvest, you can't take a picture of the forest today and let it look the same 100 years from now or 200 years from now. You have to be able to actively manage so you can ensure that we have the different forest types that occur on the landscape today.
We said goodbye to the Nordines and headed home. But wait,
Here we are at our school's forest. Anna, did you even know we had one?
No, let's learn more.
Wisconsin has hundreds of school forests which serve as outdoor classrooms used for environmental education and natural resource management. Northam Pines and Princeton school districts are just two examples, and during the course of a school year, students learn so much. When we come back, we are going to meet some other passionate people who advance the industry by following the life of an oak tree, from harvest to everyday use. Don't go away. There's more Into the Outdoors.
Visit intotheoutdoors.org for more videos.
And now back into the outdoors.
People like Henry Schinnebeck connect many people within the industry to do wonderful things.
I'm a third-generation logger trucker, so I used to drive down the road. First I knew all the country western songs, then I knew all the rock and roll songs, and then I started listening to public radio. And one day somebody said, hey, you should be on this board of directors because you're going to take some action. And loggers take action, they implement things. Now I have the opportunity to work with just such a variety of people. I mean, we're working at the congressional level, the state level, so we're working with these legislators that work with foresters from all over the country. This is what we really call a team sport. And it's not just one person that makes a difference, it's a whole team that makes a difference. So there's so many opportunities here. You could be a logger, you could be an equipment operator, you could be a mechanic, you could work outside, you could work indoors, you could do science, you could do actual on-the-ground action.
One of those jobs is forest product specialist, and there are a lot of things we can learn from them.
Wisconsin is home to over 17 million acres, which includes about 1,200 companies using that resource. That employs about 60,000 employees. Wisconsin's forests include a diverse group of species of trees. The hardwood species are primarily used in aesthetic or appearance grade applications, while softwood species are for the strength and durability properties. Oak is one of the primary species that we grow here. Oak allows us to have many different products being made out of it, including millwork, cabinets, doors, flooring, pallets.
So oak is predominantly preferred species in the packaging business for many, many customers. The oak tree starts in the forest growing. When it gets too large, it needs to be cut down because you need new growth. We cut down trees in the forest, bring the logs into the sawmill. You pull the high-grade lumber off, and that goes into the furniture and flooring type industries, and the low-grade lumber then goes into the packaging, the pallet type world, which is what we would use here. Most things in the world are moved by wood packaging, so the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, most things are shipped on pallets from the manufacturer through the distributor to the end store. So even though we don't see the pallets, they're in our life every day.
But even when an oak pallet is retired, it still has use, or should I say reuse.
And then the pallets and the wood components that don't have a life in that form, we dismantle it. So we take it back into a lumber form. We cut it apart, cut the lumber back, and then remanufacture that into another pallet, skid, box, or crate. So then in that process, you generate some wood waste, some scrap ends, some boards that were damaged. Those will go into our shredder, which we turn that back into a wood fiber. From our byproducts, we produce firewood, animal bedding, landscape mulch, boiler fuel, and various other wood products that go back into reuse.
From the sawmill, oak is sent to companies and craftsmen to create products you see all around your home.
Part of my job is to make sure that we have products here to provide to different customers. I want to make sure I have my hands on the pulse of what's going on in this area and the different trends that are going on so that we can make sure to have, oak or maple, available to these customers when they want to come and do their projects. I think a lot of times the people like oak because of the grain pattern, the color. You can stain it light color and bring out the red hues of it. Or you can stain it a dark chocolate or walnut color, yet still see that wood grain that everyone likes to see in wood. Some of the things that we manufacture here are baseboard, casing, crown molding, different base caps, panel caps. We make shiplap, along with our cabinet styles, S4S boards. S4S is surface four sides. How we do that process here is we take any boards after we run it through a rip saw. We run it through our molder. We use carbide top and bottom knives as well as side knives so that it puts out a better quality product. We then take that board once it's run through and we sand it 100 grit on the top and bottom to kind of get a nice finish ready for, say, a stainer or a retail customer that might take it and do the finishing on that board.
And artists love oak too.
There's just so many layers of pride in what we do, and I think it seeps all the way down to if you asked anybody who works with us, we all feel very lucky that we love the wood that comes in, and the variety is so incredible. When we talk about barns in Wisconsin, we always are talking about oak. And so we love oak because of its durability, its strength. We can also do a reclaimed table that has a lot of character, but we can make it writable and perfectly smooth. So recently, we started thinking about live edge, slab, sort of. It's a little different than your barn wood, which is planks of wood that we glue up. We were thinking, and we had seen some beautiful tables that are just a slice of a tree. So we contacted the City of Appleton and said, hey, what you got? The City of Appleton might have also inspired us a bit because they try to repurpose your wood. So some connection between the City of Appleton and us. We decided, let's go and harvest the trees that they had taken down, slab them up, and then they turn into beautiful tabletops, coffee tables, dining tables. We might do a 20-foot long conference table out of a really big tree from the City of Appleton. And signs.
Appleton has historically been defined by wood. It's so great to see how forward-thinking this city and its kids are.
We are going through this transformation in town, with our efforts being pointed towards sustainability and creativity. And we started looking at things we had around us that were still beautiful, but just not being used the same way as they were before. And the idea to use these beautiful felled trees into signs that showed both our efforts and interest in sustainability and our creative ways that we can use things that were once thought to be garbage can still be beautiful. So the city signs will be placed all around 12 different spots in the city of Appleton. And we wrote a song to go with each sign, so you sort of follow the song as you follow the signs. All the idea is to use existing things like creative ideas in our heads, and the actual trees in the town all came from the kids. Kids have a better understanding than the big kids, the adults, about sustainability and about how things are not broken, that they are just new ways for them to be incorporated creatively.
Now I don't have to worry. It all makes sense, and I've learned a lot.
And so did I. Now I can enjoy going into the outdoors in another way.
The following organizations have provided funding for this Into the Outdoors television series.